Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel, Jaden the Gamer. And today I wanted to talk about main DPS Thoma. So it's been a bit since Thoma's been out and I decided to fully invest in him heavily. And I made him my main DPS for funsies. But yeah, he does pretty good damage as long as you build him correctly, so I'm here to show you how to do that for anybody who wants to build him. And if you're looking for the meta build, there's lots of other Genshin creators that make very good meta builds for him, such as focusing all on his shield. But we're not going to be talking about that today. We're going to be talking about Pyro DPS Thoma, Physical DPS Thoma, and Mix. Alrighty guys, let's begin. So first, let's talk about different artifact sets you can run on Thoma. So first of all, these are my substats I have for him. I'm currently running him on a 4-piece Crimson Witch set because I like seeing those big vaporized numbers. So as you can see, my crit rate's not the best, but my crit damage is actually really good. I have really bad energy recharge though. So I would say you might want to get more energy recharge. I'm currently running him on Staff of Homa. Okay guys, so let's talk about Thoma's best weapons I would use for main DPS. So it really depends on your ratios with crit, so currently I'm running him on Staff of Homa. Other good alternatives though would be the Battle Pass weapon, which is Deathmatch for extra crit rate. Also the Black Cliff Pole, which you can get from using Star Glitter in the shop. It's very good. It's just its effect is very hard to keep up. Again, the catch is really good. It's amazing actually, and it's pretty good for a sub DPS Thoma because of the energy recharge, which Thoma does struggle a bit because his energy burst is 80, I believe. So this would actually help him out so much, and it gives crit rate to his burst. It increases his burst damage, so if you're trying to go for more, vaporize and bigger numbers on that, that would work pretty well. And then lastly, I would put Favonius Lance in there as well, because he does struggle with energy. So it really depends. If you're trying to build Pyro Thoma, then I would stack up some energy recharge if you're able to. And also Dragon's Mane would be pretty good as well because of the elemental mastery substat it has for it. So it really just depends on your artifacts, guys, and what you want to do with those. Anyways, let's talk about artifacts next. So currently I am running him on a 4-piece Crimson Witch set, which is the best for one-shots and one phasing or like super big PP numbers, So yeah, these are my substats I got on them. I have that for the flower, attack, and so with the sands, it's very optional what you want to run on him. If you're looking for a mixed shield and mixed DPS, then I would do HP sands to give better shields. If you're looking for main DPS, it's really between a attack percent sands or elemental mastery, and it's just whatever you have better substats on, whichever you would prefer to have. With elemental mastery, you will be able to get those very nice and big vaporized numbers. Let me just input a clip right here for you guys.
Don't get too close! I got you covered!
Okay, perfect. I saw that. Okay, now the cup is very situational. So you can run him on an attack percent cup until you get pyro damage bonus for that, or you can also build in physical DPS and do a physical damage cup for that. And then with the hat, it's very situational. It's either crit rate or crit damage, whatever fits your substats the most. Okay, now I'm going to show you the next set. Alright guys, and here's the next artifact set that is pretty good on him, which would be 2-piece Crimson Witch of Flames and 2-piece Gladiator slash, I forgot what the artifact set was called, the one that came out with Yoimima, the Raiden Shogun domain, that one. You can do either of those, whichever one you have better subsets on, and this one's fine for people who don't really want to necessarily grind crazy, because Crimson Witch domain is very annoying and I did not enjoy grinding that. I just got pretty lucky. But I have lots of pyro characters that I haven't built because I don't want to, do that shit. So This set's pretty good for overworld as well. You're not going to get as big of, vaporized numbers or anything, but it's a little bit more consistent in terms of damage, I would say. Here we go. Let's go test it out against these guys. This is just my friendship team, so this is not a team I would recommend running on him. Also, I have pretty bad crit rate on him, but also this just boosts up his normal attacks a little bit more than running full Crimson Witch because of the 18% attack buff, and genuinely I think it's just better. So let's see, vape. See, we get 25k vape right there, and let's keep going. So you can see pretty consistent physical numbers as well as pretty nice pyro damage. Alright, now let's go talk about one of the fun ones. Okay guys, and here's the final artifact set that I would recommend for Thoma. So these are the subsets I have for it. They're not as great as my Crimson Witch set, but this is gonna be your 2-piece Bloodstain and 2-piece Pale Flame. So these are for physical DPS Thoma because it has really nice auto attacks. So I would run him with a Cryo character and also Electro to give Super Conduct if you do want to run this build. But as you can see, it totally works out because he has really nice basic attack animations. And let me just put Kokomi out here so I don't die. So his shield, this is a big question, right? Is how is his shield? Is it still good or is it bad? Honestly, I haven't really noticed. It's okay. It's not better than my Diona shield, but it's certainly not bad either. This is with full attack percent and everything. As a physical DPS. Now look at these numbers, they're pretty good. If I got better crit rate and crit damage substats, it would work better. But you know, can't grind everything. This set works pretty fine. I would use it open world a lot more, probably than my Crimson Witch set, but I'm just too lazy to switch off the Crimson Witch set because, you know, it's too much work. These are artifacts around for my Yola, by the way. And this set works pretty well. I'd say it's fine. You just gotta build an entire team around it, and it really restricts you in a way. So I personally wouldn't like playing with it like that, but it's completely up to you. Okay, now let's talk about talents and constellations. Okay everybody, so let's talk about talents first before we move on to constellations. So for talents, if it really depends on what you're gonna build. Like I say, there's so many different ways to build a main DPS Thoma, so it really just depends on what build you're going for. So I triple crowned him, like I said, I highly invested because he's one of my favorite characters in this game. I thought he was really fun and super cute with his hangout quest, so I just had to pre-farm everything for him. So for physical DPS, obviously you're going to want the normal attack to be your #1 priority in terms of level up. Unfortunately with Thoma, his scalings are actually pretty bad. They're not the greatest compared to other characters, but that's to be expected with somebody who's meant to be a shielder. So with his shields, they're not needed for a main DPS. I'm extra, so I triple crowned him, right? I'd probably leave this skill at probably level 6, you know? Like, it doesn't take up too much resources to get it to level 6. It's just extra pyro damage and just a little bit of a shield, but as you can see, it has pretty good ratios when it's all the way up there. So it's your choice, and if you're running a pyro damage Thoma, also, I probably wouldn't recommend investing in this past level 8, I would say, if you're doing pyro damage Thoma, because it's very underwhelming. It's only good for one-shots or very high burst teams, and you'd have to specialize that, which we'll talk about a little bit later on. And then his ultimate. So if you're going to be doing pyro damage Thoma, then yes, you want to get his ultimate to at least level 8. I'd say his priority would be auto attacks and then his ult and then shield. So his ult is pretty decent. The damage, as you can see, is pretty underwhelming at level 10, which is kind of crazy. Yeah, so it's okay. It does pretty good damage if you're doing full Crimson Witch set. I get like 13k vaporizes every time he inflicts the pyro, so it's actually not a bad skill to do. So I'd say Your level up priority should always be your normal attacks, then your Crimson Aurori. I'm so sorry, I butchered that. And then your Blazing Blessing. Okay, okay guys, let's talk about Thoma's constellations and do you need them? Obviously, no, you do not need constellations for any character in this game. All they do is just make the character better. Which sounds bad, but they're usable. So C1 is honestly not that great for main DPS Thoma, because it affects triggers when you're not when Thoma's not on the field, but as a main DPS and a hyper carry, you're always gonna want him on the field. So it's hit or miss. It depends if you're gonna run a 2 DPS team, then yeah, it's pretty good because it reduces his cooldowns. His C2 is actually pretty good for Pyro DPS Thomas because it increases the duration for his Crimson Aurori. So he effectively has 18 seconds of Crimson and then a 20-second cooldown, so only a 2-second delay from his ult being down, which is actually really good. So C3 and C5 are obviously, you know, just levels, talent levels. C4, however, is actually really good, and I really want this, actually. But I don't whale. Like, I'm a low budget. So, for Crimson Aurori, it gives you 15 energy, that will be restored to Thoma after you use it, and that's so helpful with his 80 energy cost burst. That will literally help you so much, and it helps you maintain an uptime better. And then his C6 is actually really good for main DPS Thoma. So when you're using a Blazing Barrier and it's obtained or refreshed, damage dealt by all party members, normal charge and plunging is increased by 15% for 6 seconds. And that would probably boost up Thoma's damage a lot. I haven't done the calculations myself because I don't have it. And I'm not sure how to do all that anyways. Okay guys, now let's move on to team comps that I recommend for Thoma. So obviously, since Thoma is a Pyro DPS, there's lots of different teams that are already in the game that can work very well with that. So if you're building him Pyro DPS, Theories are teammates I would recommend for your one-piece or one-shot build, I would say, to do the big PP damage. So you obviously need Xingqiu, and then you also need to add Kazuha or an animal character for Viridescent Verner's effect, and then Bennett. And this team is very good at doing high burst damage, and it's just so nice and so satisfying to see these giant numbers with, you know, Thoma, because she's just a shielder. But it's super nice to watch that and see how they play. As you guys saw from the clip, here I'll insert it again so you guys can admire that damage.
The wind knows.
Let me weave you a verse. Huh? Rain out my...
Don't get too close. I got you covered.
Okay, so the next team I would like to show off would be our Electro Charge team. So this would be used with Ball, Beto, so you can switch them out, Fischl, and then you would have Kokomi or some water hydro character. I would prefer Barbara if you don't have Kokomi. So this team is actually very fun to play because of the Electro Charge, but it also helps with not having a lot of energy recharge on Thoma. So when you use his ult, it'll be super easy to, you know, get energy back, and it just helps out a lot more. So this is probably the team I would choose to run with during overworld or stuff like that, because it's just better in my opinion, because you don't have to worry about having such a low energy on him. And as a main DPS and you want to see him do big numbers, you don't really want to focus on energy recharge as much, especially since you run him on a physical, on a Pyro team, I mean. So this team is actually really good. And I use this as my overworld team if I play Thoma. Now, this next team I'm going to be showing you is the national comp, and it actually works pretty decently for Thoma. So that'd be Xingqiu, Chongyun, and Bennett as your teammates for this team, and it actually does pretty decent. I actually kind of like it because it's a permafreeze comp because his melts only occur every few seconds. I think it's about 3 seconds is his internal cooldown. I could be wrong, but it really helps out with stuff like that, and it's just nice overall. Like, I would recommend this team if you don't have... It's a team of 4 stars. So it's actually very free to play friendly if you're lucky. I should say. But yeah, this team is very nice and it's always great. You know, national team always works with like so many different characters. You can't go wrong with that. Okay, and let's talk about the last team, and this is for physical DPS Thoma. So I think Raiden, Shogun, Rosaria, and Bennett would best fit this team. If you don't have Rosaria, switch it out for Fischl. She's easier to have Electro on anyways. Than Beto. But if you want to use Beto, you can use Beto. And then Rosaria, you can switch her out with Kaya. It's your preference. But this team would be really good. You getting that, you know, super conduct shred on the defense and also having Bennett there for the attack buff. You can also swap Bennett out with Zhongli if you want to. You know, it's really your preference on what. That 4th spot is very like flexible. But for physical DPS Thoma, I would prefer to run Raiden, or Electro character, I should say, a Cryo character, and then Bennett for attack buff and also for the, you know, he does the healing, the attack buff, and also for the Pyro Resonance, and that works out really good actually for Thoma. And he does pretty nice damage. I like it like this. But yeah, so that's it for the teams. Now finally, let's talk about Thoma as a character. Should you or should you not build him? Like everything in this game, build characters for fun, not because they're good. Unfortunately, Thoma falls into the category where he's just average. You know, he's meant to be a shielder and that's all. And that's perfectly okay. Everybody has roles they need to specialize in. Do I recommend building him as a main DPS, I should say? Up to you again. He's really good as a sub DPS if you do want to build him as that. As a main DPS, sometimes he does feel lackluster than my other characters I have had as main DPSs before. You know, but I enjoy using him because it's Thoma. And that's all that really matters. So yeah, his damage is okay, but again, this game is pretty easy. So unless you're trying to do Spiral Abyss or anything like that, you really don't have to have, you know, a very like set DPS. You can even use Barbara as a DPS, you know, Kokomi DPS or everything like that. And they work perfectly fine. So if you love him, build him. But if you're meh about him, I'd say if you do want to build him because you don't have a shield, he works pretty good. But if you already have Zhongli or you're just not a huge fan of him as a character in general, then I would say don't build him. It would be a waste of resources because, you know, he's really support reliant. Like, he needs a lot of good supports and those buffs to help make his damage shine. And it's a lot to work around. But that's it. That's basically it with almost every single character in this game. But those are the big factors with Thoma. So if you guys found this video helpful, make sure you hit that subscribe button, like, and I'm sorry if this feels like so weird. This is actually my first guide I've ever made, so I'm not really sure how to like phrase things. I have to learn that. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Bye everybody.